What's going on, guys? It's Vintage Brian here, and we're back today to do an early review of the Air Jordan 3 Reimagined. All right, guys, let's talk about what's going on with this pair right here. This pair is meant to mirror the original pair of white cements that dropped back in 1988. Now, the premise behind this release is to replicate what it would be like if you bought the original pair of 1988 white cement threes, kept them in the box, and didn't open them until today in 2023. Now, the Air Jordan 3 Reimagined drops this Saturday, March 11th at 10 a.m. on Nike Sneakers, and they drop on a few other foot sites like Foot Locker, Finish Line, Snipes, and Champs as well. Now, this release is going to be handled a little differently through Nike as the last couple of releases that I've reviewed. This is actually going to be on a Nike draw system. And if you're not familiar with that system, it's just like a raffle. Basically, at 10 a.m., they're going to open up a raffle for 10 minutes where you can enter for a men's grade school or toddler size. And essentially, after the 10 minutes, the system is going to automatically pick random winners. There's no need to rush at 10 a.m. to get into Nike sneakers. You just have to make sure you enter by that 10-minute time frame. Now, me personally, I haven't had that great of a luck with the draw system, but I have hit at least once or twice. It sucks though, because if you don't win on the draw system and you don't win on any foot sites, you already know that there's nothing you can really do other than pay resale to get your hands on this release. Now, of course, in order to provide an experience like this is really a shoe that you've had in your closet for 30 plus years, they did do a couple of details on the box to really help that experience elevate and really make it look like it's a pair from '88. Now, leaving this shoe in the box for 30 years would render it almost unwearable. You would have to preserve these shoes under the right conditions just to keep them looking the way they are right in front of us. Of course, Jordan Brand is not going to go ahead and release a shoe that's actually falling apart like it would be had you just kept them in the box like this. However, they do a few things to the shoe to make it look like it's an aged shoe. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would they even go and release a shoe that looks like it's aged? Well, for the last couple of years on YouTube and on other forms of social media, there's been people that have taken markers and even coffee grounds, if you believe that, to actually age their shoes and give them a more vintage look. But the Air Jordan 3 is not the first silhouette to actually get this vintage treatment. Last year, right around the end of the year, we actually ended up getting the Air Jordan 1 Lost and Found, which is actually a aged version of the 1984 Air Jordan 1 Chicago. Now, when this shoe dropped, it was a huge problem to go ahead and get your hands on this pair. The last time that we received a retro of the original Air Jordan 1 Chicago was back in 2015. And those have skyrocketed over $1,000 in the last couple of years since the Last Dance documentary dropped on Netflix. Now, with the retro like that being over $1,000, a lot of people weren't able to add a Chicago Jordan 1 to their collection. And this was the first chance in 8 years to do so. Now, with this release, they actually gave us a cracked leather across the entire upper to mimic how the leather would actually dehydrate and crack over time if you just left the shoe in a box for 30 plus years. And then they did do other subtle hints like discoloration and an off-white tone on the midsole in order to replicate how the shoe would react, of course, still sitting in that same box. Now, in my opinion, the Air Jordan 1 Lost and Found is a very good release, and I can see why a lot of people wanted it in their collection. Hell, I doubled up. But I think that the Air Jordan 3 does it better. To me, the idea of the cracked leather was good in concept and it's nice, but over the course of actually wearing the shoe, the cracked leather has seemed to kind of flake out on me a little bit. So I think that over the course of time, that shoe is actually going to end up aging very, very badly. But regardless of that fact, let's focus on the Air Jordan 3. Now, with the Air Jordan 3 Reimagined, they actually gave us an off-white midsole and a off-white back tab in the back to replicate how those areas would actually age over the course of 30 years. Now, they actually went ahead and switched some of the materials on this shoe to mimic what the materials were back in 1988, starting with the elephant print. Now, the elephant print on this shoe actually features a more subtle and toned down elephant print than the previous releases of this shoe. The toned down elephant print, I think, is a really good addition to this shoe because, in my opinion, it actually makes the shoe really, really nice. Now, I gotta say that in regards to materials, they did step it up a notch on this leather quality compared to some of the other releases that we've gotten for Air Jordan 3s. This is something along the lines of the Neapolitan Air Jordan 3 that came out last year, but they're nowhere near close to the leather quality that was on the 2013 release or the UNC3s that I talked about in my last video, which if you haven't seen, you can click right up here and take a look at that too. Now, speaking of other Air Jordan 3 retros, the last time that we actually got the Air Jordan 3 white cement in this exact iteration was back in 2013, and it was referenced as the 88 dunk contest, with the name, of course, referring to the fact that that was the year Michael Jordan actually won the dunk contest by dunking from the free throw line. Now, putting these shoes side by side, it's obvious why a lot of people are going to go crazy on Saturday when they go for this release, because this shoe right now is selling for upmost of $500. So if you don't want to spend $500 on the 2013 release, which is supposed to be the brand new condition, all white everything, no aging whatsoever, it probably makes a lot more sense to just go ahead and buy the new release with a little bit of an off-white look. It's a very subtle change that a lot of people are willing to overlook in order to save themselves some money. Buy this shoe for $210 and leave this shoe on the resale market for 500 plus. Now, when you compare both of these side by side, of course, you're going to notice that there is a different tone to the midsole because of the aging look they gave on the new release. And you're going to notice that the elephant print is a lot bolder on the 2013 release. Now, I have worn these shoes, so there is a little bit of discoloration on the gray, but the gray on this new pair is actually lighter than the gray on the 2013 release. In my opinion, it actually works a lot better, especially in conjunction with the thinner elephant print that's on the new release, because to me, it does look better than this bolder elephant print that's on the 2013 release. Looking at the back tabs of the shoe, of course, on the new one are on that off-white look, which is kind of hard to show on camera, but if I can just get in closer here, I'll give you a good look as to how the old release looks compared to the new release. Now, me personally, I don't really care whether the shoe is off-white or white. I think that they both look good. Where I think I have some gripes about the new release is I feel like the back tab on the new release is bolder, and it is actually harder to read the Nike overall on the shoe. I like the more spaced out letters on the 2013 release, but that is a preference thing. So you might actually like the new release better than the old release. Now, in most recent Air Jordan 3 releases, they've actually been changing the way that the tongue on the threes are. On this release, the tongue actually features a less tumbled leather look and a more slimmed down look than the 2013 release. The 2013 release has more padding on the tongue, which for looks, I think I would prefer the new release. But for actual quality, I do like the tumbled leather on the 2013 release more than I like the flat leather look on the new one. And with it being slimmed down, I actually think it works better with the aesthetic of the shoe. But other than the Nike tabs, I think my only other gripe with the shoe is the leather quality. It does hold up against some of the more current releases, but I think the 2013 release leather is so much better. Now, this pair is currently reselling for around $300, give or take a few bucks, depending on the size that you go for. And with the hype that this release has, this is undoubtedly going to be a top 5 release of 2023. And to be honest, I think this shoe deserves it. I think this shoe is an overall 9 out of 10. I love the colorway. It's classic. It's something that you can wear all the time. And the materials on this are pretty spot on. I do prefer the 2013 release better, but with that being a 10-year-old shoe, I'm not going to sit here and knock this shoe down because of that quality, only because realistically, this is the same quality that we've been getting on a couple of releases recently. So realistically, this is what we've come to expect out of Jordan Brand. Now, on foot, this shoe looks amazing. It's such a versatile shoe, which is one of the reasons why this shoe is so hyped. You can wear this shoe with long pants, baggy pants, or even shorts, and it always looks good when it's on your feet. It's one of the reasons why this shoe is so iconic. when you're spending so much money on these shoes, you want to make sure you can wear them on more than one occasion. And I think this shoe does that very well. So yeah, like I said, I think this shoe deserves a 9 out of 10. And it doesn't look like Jordan Brand is slowing down on this vintage look for shoes. There is a rumor going around that March of next year is actually going to see the Air Jordan 4 Bread be released in a vintage or reimagined colorway. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with a suede shoe like that to give it this kind of a treatment and not ruin the shoe. So we'll see what comes up. But yeah, guys, this has been my review of the Air Jordan 3 Reimagined. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of the shoe. Will you be going for this shoe on Saturday? And what do you rate it 1 through 10? This is Vintage Brian, and we'll catch you on the next review.